What's happening, everybody? This is WilsonJet. Happy Friday. I hope you've all got a great weekend planned. I've got some Battlefield 3 gameplay as promised. This is Azadi Palace Conquest from the Aftermath DLC, and I'm going to be using the AK-74 with Cobra Sight and Heavy Barrel. This has become one of my favorite setups for this particular map because I like the long-range accuracy of the AK, and that relatively low rate of fire allows me to stay on target and conserve ammo as I'm moving around the map. What you're looking at the beginning of the video here is a sequence from a 30 kill game that I had where I finished at or near the top of the leaderboard, but we ended up losing. And I think this is kind of indicative of the way that most Azadi Palace CQ games play out. Everyone wants to bunch up and cluster in this palace area around these two objectives because this is a cool close quarters environment. There's lots of action, plenty of opportunities for firefights and decent point chains like I'm putting together here. But when the team chooses to abandon those three objectives in the other half of the map, in the city area, this is usually going to lead to a loss. So the following game, which is the remainder of the gameplay that you're going to see, I have a 50 kill MVP game where I rack up a ton of points. Unfortunately, we still didn't get the win because I couldn't quite get my team on board with the idea of holding down the city. I really think that's the key when you're playing Azadi Palace Conquest. Focus on the city. Cycle between those three objectives over there. I mean, it's only common sense, right? 3 is greater than 2. If you can hold down the city, you're probably going to win the game. And what I see happening is that when all the folks who are over in the palace finish duking it out, they look down at their mini-map and they see an objective flashing. So they all run to the city, and they might capture that flag. If they do, that's fine. You just move in behind them and you recapture it, and it's more points for you. Otherwise, you're posted up. You're in a defensive position, and you're ready for them. And when they come running down the street from the palace, you've got the drop on them already. So I just cycle around those three objectives over there in the city and started racking up a ton of points. As this video progresses, you're going to notice that I'm getting more and more comfortable with the recoil pattern on the AK, especially under fully automatic fire. If you're at medium or long range, definitely burst and tap fire. If you're up close, you can usually get a nice double kill spray. But I think this is an excellent weapon for this environment. Without a doubt, give it a try. I think you're going to be pleased once you get the hang of it. Now, in my last video, I was talking a little bit about which sports teams I support and which ones I despise. And I was pretty open about the fact that I don't care for teams from Boston, especially the Patriots and Celtics, in particular, Tom Brady and Rajon Rondo. I thought this might be a good time for me to tell you the Rajon Rondo story. So let me give you the setup here. It's 2008. And my wife and I are about to have our first anniversary at the end of October, and she really wants to go out of town and do something special. I get a call out of the blue from a childhood friend back in Indianapolis. He says, "Hey, I got to go to my sister's wedding out in Phoenix, and I'd like to give you my Colts season tickets for the Patriots game in the brand new Lucas Oil Stadium." I'm like, "Oh, wow, awesome. I am there. When's the game?" Wouldn't you know? It's on my anniversary. So I got to get slick. I got to have a talk with my wife. "Honey, would you like to go out of town to beautiful Indianapolis for our anniversary?" Needless to say, she's not real thrilled. But because she's an awesome wife and she knew how important it was to me, she said, "Fine, we'll do that." So to make it up to her, I decided that I would book a reservation in the nicest hotel in downtown Indianapolis, which is called the Conrad. It's a Hilton hotel, the Conrad Hilton. It's got a spa and all that stuff, and she likes that kind of thing. I thought I could book her a spa appointment. So we get there, and we have a good time in Indianapolis. Downtown Indianapolis is actually pretty nice. It's a nice, clean city. Lots to do in downtown Indy. It's a decent spot. So we're having a great time. And, at the end of the day, we've had a little to drink, we've been out, we're looking forward to having some alone time, some sexy time. And we get back to our room, and there's some jokers on the other side of the wall, in the room next door. And I can't tell if they're getting it on or murdering somebody over there. I mean, they were so loud and obnoxious. It was crazy. It was literally like they were filming a porn. And this went on all night. And no exaggeration, literally all night, nonstop. And it wasn't just one voice. It was like 4 or more that I was hearing. And I kept hearing through the wall loudly over and over, Caesar, Caesar! At least that's what it sounded like, Caesar. And occasionally, I would hear a voice go, oh, Billy! Oh, Poppy Billy! And so I heard Billy and Caesar. So I was thinking, okay, well, there's maybe 4 people over there, maybe 2 girls, 1 guy. I couldn't quite figure out what was going on. Now, for a little while, my wife and I, we thought it was funny. And we tried to compete with them. So we were making our own noise back and being loud and smacking the wall and stuff. But I'm not an Olympian, I just, after a while, you're like, okay, that was fun. It's uncomfortable now. I think I'm ready to go to sleep. How about you? Yeah, I've had enough. So we try to go to sleep, but we can't because it's just endless. And then, okay, there'd be a break for a few minutes, and then they're back again, banging on the wall and stuff. It was crazy. Anyway, so the next day, my wife is sort of annoyed. And she's like, you should call the front desk and complain. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. I thought, well, there's a man code. What am I going to do? Call the front desk and say, sir, I have to complain. I am offended because there are people having loud, obnoxious sex next door. And I'm not a prig or a prude, but at the same time, I'm trying to enjoy my anniversary with my wife, right? And so it's a story, I guess. So that's good. We had a memory. It was just not the memory that we intended to make. So anyway, the next day I go down to the concierge desk and I'm trying to book a spa appointment for my wife. And I thought, all right, I'll say something to him. And as discreetly as possible, I try to explain to the concierge what had happened. And he's just snickering. And he's trying to hide his face and stuff. And he's got tears in his eyes. He's laughing so hard. And it is kind of funny. And I was being humorous. But at the same time, I'm like, does he know something I don't? Why is it that funny? I'm trying to piece that together. Now, as we're leaving the hotel, I need to hail a taxi. And there is this enormous luxury charter bus directly in front of the hotel. And I'm like, what's going on? So I look around, and either side of the door, there are rows of people lined up with Boston Celtics gear on. And they've got, paraphernalia that they want autographed and stuff. And they've got a line on either side of the door, roped off. People are waiting to pounce on Boston Celtics players and say hi and get autographs and take pictures and stuff. And then I realized, oh wow, not only are the Colts playing the Patriots this weekend, but it's the Pacers' home opener and the Celtics are in town. Now keep in mind, this is 2008. The Celtics had just won the championship. This is when the Big Three had just been assembled. The original Big Three, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen. They were the rock stars that year. Everybody was following them around like they do the Miami Heat now. They had groupies. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess we're going to see the Celtics come out here in a second. I'm a guest at the hotel. I'm not behind any ropes. I'm basically standing there in the doorway waiting for my taxi. And I thought, there's a chance here that the Celtics are probably going to walk by and be standing with me on the sidewalk for a period of time. While they're boarding their bus. And sure enough, that's what happened. Next thing I know, here comes Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and Doc Rivers, and I'm standing there waiting for my taxi, rubbing shoulders with all of them, and then bringing up the rear, it's Rajon Rondo. And then, light bulb, ding, not Cesar, freaking Rajon. She was screaming Rajon, man. That was Rajon Rondo having a sexathon in the room next to me. Now, I didn't like the guy anyway because he played for Kentucky. And I don't like his style of play. I think he's a chump, He's kind of cocky and he's always angry. And, I played basketball growing up. I have a feel for a person's character and whether I would get along with them or not based on their attitude when they play. I already didn't care for the guy. But this was just the icing on the cake. And I'm not trying to be a hater, Sure, get it on, dude. You're a young athlete. You got money. Do what you got to do. But it was obnoxious. And it affected me and my time with my wife. So now I'm like, oh, now I really hate you. So here I'm standing next to Rajon Rondo. And like I said, he's a tiny dude. I've got to be at least 4 or 5 inches taller than this kid. And I'm like fuming. I'm like, oh, Rajon. And I'm like, wait a second. There was another voice, Billy. Who the heck is that? I don't know any Billies on the Celtics. So I pull out my phone and I look at the Celtics roster. And sure enough, they had a rookie from Kansas that season whose name was Bill Walker. And I'm like, yep, that was it. It was definitely them. Rajon and Bill sharing a room. They're 2 of the youngest players on the team. That makes perfect sense. So when we get in the taxi, I'm telling my wife, I'm like, hey, it was that kid that was standing next to us who was in the room. She's like, really? No. I'm like, yeah. And I explained the whole thing to her. Okay, so later that evening, when we're coming back to our hotel again, the next night, which was actually Halloween, it was, everyone's real festive. The Pacers have just beaten the Celtics, okay? And we ride up in the elevator, and when the doors opened, there was somebody in the next elevator who was getting off simultaneously. It was the two girls from the night before going back to the room for more, okay? And they're all like dolled up with their Celtics gear, their hair's done, and they're too much makeup, and, trying to look cute. And I'm thinking, oh, man. And, oh, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. They were good looking. There was a blonde and a brunette, one of each. Why not? But me and my wife just start cracking up, and we kind of lay back a little bit so that we don't cross paths with these girls. And the rest of the night, my wife was in good spirits. We were drinking some champagne and stuff. She would just randomly blurt out, skank, whore, because it was funny to her that these girls were so proud of the fact that they were basically someone's property, that they were groupies. So anyway, that is my Rajon Rondo story. That is just one of the many reasons why I'm not a big fan, I just don't have much luck with celebrities at all. I have another funny story, actually. I don't know if I have time to tell it. There's a couple minutes here. I was in the Atlanta airport one time, and I was waiting for a flight. And they come over the loudspeaker and say, Mr. Chappelle, last call for Mr. Chappelle. And I'm like, Mr. Chappelle? Like Dave Chappelle? And I'm looking around. I don't see Dave Chappelle anywhere. I'm like, it must be coincidence, And I'm like, okay, well, where are these flights headed? And sure enough, the gate right next to me is going to Dayton, Ohio. Well, that's where Dave Chappelle's from. I'm like, no, couldn't be. Is it that big of a coincidence? So, I walked to go get a snack or a newspaper or whatever. I can't remember. I went to some kiosk in the airport. And as I'm walking, down the corridor there at Hartsfield-Jackson in Atlanta, there is Dave Chappelle right in front of me. He's standing with a woman who might have been his sister or his wife, I don't know, and some kids. And he's waiting for her outside of the bathroom. And he has this annoyed look on his face. And what has happened is Dave has missed his flight. Okay? I'm not sure what the circumstances were. I found out later that he missed his flight because he was so busy signing autographs for people that he didn't make it to the gate on time. But I didn't know that. I was kind of starstruck. I'm a huge Dave Chappelle fan. I could recite most of the dialogue from his television series. And I'm always uncomfortable around celebrities. I didn't really feel a need to walk up and have a conversation or ask for an autograph. I don't care about an autograph. But I felt like, I can't let this moment go by without saying something to Dave Chappelle. He's my hero. So as I'm walking by, we actually made eye contact. So I gave him the nod, and I say, hey, Dave, Happy New Year. As I'm walking away, Dave says, fuck you. So, yeah, didn't exactly go as planned. Dave was having a bad day. That really happened. Broke my heart. But I forgive you, Dave. It's all right. Happens to the best of us. All right. Till next time, this is Wilson. I hope you enjoyed this. Later on.